Hello everyone, it's Gigabeef here, and today we're going to show you how to get 10 PMC kills on Shoreline. At quest number 4, now the Punisher is hotting up. You're a pro at taking down scavs, but now we hunt the most dangerous game, man. So stick around, and let's get into it. Now, I don't want to spend too long on the first parts of this quest so that we can get onto the PMC bit, as that's the real meat of the Punisher. To start with though, you'll need 5 brown-handled knives, which are easy to find, and these are the same ones that you use to do the level 1 barter with Peacekeeper to get MP5s. I did mention this in part 1 to save them up before, but you often spawn with them as a scav and find them on other scavs in case you need to collect a few more. So the easy part, kill 10 scavs onwards with 12 gauge shotguns. We have a couple of choices here, but I would recommend the 2 semi-automatic versions, which would either be the MP153 or the Saiga 12, of which I personally tend to use the Saiga. I did most of mine using the old wood spot, which has held up despite the increase in map size, as scavs still spawn around the scav house frequently. Sometimes you do have to wait for 10 to 15 minutes for them to turn up, but I find it the most reliable way without being in the middle of the action and getting shot at by other PMCs, which can just make the quest take longer. Given that you have to use 12 gauge shotguns, I'd rather not be seeing any other players just yet. One observation that I have about scav killing in this wipe in particular is the number of people who've been complaining about the lack of scavs at the beginning of raids. I'm not actually sure if it's all that different or whether people just forgot what it was like when they were looking for them due to quests, but waiting towards the end of raids definitely increases your chance of finding them around the scav spawn areas, so it's worth taking a bit of extra time if you have other quests to do first, or simply go to do some looting before trying to tackle the scav kills themselves. For these scav kills, you can use slugs if you want to try to snipe them from afar, or normal buckshot if you're more comfortable taking in a bare shotgun and little else. AP20 slugs are a bit overkill for this quest, but you can craft them in the hideout assuming you don't have Jaeger level 4 if you really want to make yourself deadly against other PMCs at range as well. I personally tend to go for a really super budget kit, spot them from afar and move up to them through cover to take them down. This budget kit for me usually involves just a balaclava, a headset, a 6B3TM rig and the gun. You can add a Ratnik helmet if you want to, but honestly it's probably just a waste of money onwards. People are running massive bullets that will go straight through regardless, and scavs will just shoot you in the face anyway, so with no face shield it doesn't really help. You are kidding me, oh my god. You know what, the mistake I made is I should have looped round. I was too greedy and I got magnum buckshotted in the face. Like, re-peeking the same scav after he's shot you two times or something is like generally a bad idea. Because, you know, there is a chance that just happens, especially if they got the shotty. You know, they get one kind of anywhere up in the top area and you're just going to die. You take one pellet to the face and you die. Especially if you've got no face shield. I normally engage from a much further distance. I joked in my PSO video that although compatible with the Saiga 12, I couldn't imagine anyone using it. Well, I ate my own words and this wipe got it done with just that. I ended up using SuperFormance slugs because they get a big accuracy boost which helps to kill the scavs from afar. Now that that's completed, on to the first player killing quest portion of the Punisher. If this is your first wipe, it's likely one of the first quests that requires a decent number of PMC kills, and no, I don't really count Stir Up because that one's a mess. The quest states that we have to kill 10 PMCs on Shoreline whilst wearing a balaclava and a scav vest. Firstly, the balaclava is no issue, as you should be using one already in every raid to cover up that bald head eyes target for other players. We've been through this one before. The scav vest should limit us a little bit, but isn't a massive deal, primarily because it doesn't actually function in the quest. Now, I'm going to caveat here that I don't know when they're going to fix this, or if they're going to fix it at all, and it could be at any time. But as of the time of recording, you can completely ignore this requirement as far as I can tell, as I've racked up PMC kills with the 6B3TM, attack tech, and a few other items with progression counting. Use it at your own peril, and don't blame me if it all goes horribly wrong and something ends up not counting. You have been warned. In terms of finding your kills, there's 2 schools of thought here. Firstly, if you're a CQB god or just like to play up close, go to resort with good ammo and rip up the place. Primarily, you should be using something that excels in close quarter indoor fighting like the Vector or the MP7, which are pretty much perfect for hitting those headshots, or any assault rifle of your choice that you're comfortable with. You can also combine this with looking for LEDX or ophthalmoscope spawns in the various rooms such as West 301, as you'll need a find in Raid 1 later for the all-important Therapist Thick Items case quest. For the rest of us, I like to take my targets out from a bit of a distance, with the favourite areas being around power and gas station. I usually avoid resort personally, and find players out in the open. The key for me is to see them before they see me and get some clean and easy kills. This can work out if you get the drop on people and are using rounds that can thorax kill in 2 hits through level 4 armour. Whichever route you choose will dictate the style of weapon that you want to be using. For the outside route, focus on taking good rounds with you and don't worry too much about the weapons choice specifically, as it's possible to complete this with pretty much anything. The less comfortable you are with PvP and Tarkov, and the less money you have, the greater the gear fear you'll have, which makes it hard to actively go after people. If this sounds a little bit like you, take something hyper min-maxed on value with good penetration, like the Hunter, which is super cheap and in my opinion the best overall value, although that is very much debatable due to the issue around sourcing magazines. The VPO 215 with 366 AP is another good choice, or the RFB with M80 or M61 if you can afford it. As you get more comfortable killing players, you can scale up your equipment to higher tier weapons once you're better able to stop yourself dying all the time and have a chance of actually getting kills. That said, I would recommend focusing on those that are a bit longer range. I often end up using the SVD, which is not a bad option, and although it isn't very cheap, given that you have to use it for part 6, it's not a terrible idea to start getting used to it a bit if you've not used it before. It's a monster weapon that fires the most in round 7.6254R and takes the PSO straight up with no mods, which means you can run it at stock if you like. You can go for ARs, but Peacekeeper 3 sells M855A1, which if you have access to, you could run an M4DAR of some kind for sniping or just a regular M4 build, but it's unlikely that you'll have access to this ammunition. Otherwise, if you're more comfortable with the AKs that run 545, then BT should just about do the job, but I don't like relying on its mediocre pen, and being a tracer also makes me a little uncomfortable, so I tend to stay away from budget 545 AKs. Anyway, these are just a few ideas. You can really do whatever you prefer here. At this point, it's time to give it a go. You will die, so don't give up and keep trying. Becoming the hunter and not the hunted takes time, so make sure you understand the map, the spawns, and the classic routes that other players will likely take to get to various locations on the map. East side, I tried to get in position around power or gas to get the jump on people looking for scav kills in the earlier Punisher quests. There are a number of bushes along the ridgeline that give decent visibility, so keep checking around and you'll likely see someone eventually. This first clip is not for the Punisher specifically, but I am wearing the blue Untar helmet for the Peacekeeper quest, and I made the mistake of not moving after taking shots. Having Overwatch on an area with a fight and third-partying people is clearly the easiest way to acquire targets, as you know where they are generally by the sounds of their fight already. Ah. They took a shot at me. I actually hit one of them on the head. But I think he's wearing an ult in. That's why you shouldn't wear this bloody helmet. Got one. Got the other. There's someone quite close to me. They're like directly ahead of me, but I can't see them. A lot of Tarkov is about like... Crap. Alright, I got caught out. I was kind of silly to stay in the same place. That's usually one rule of Tarkov, just like once you fired, like move to another place. This clip was particularly fun, being a bit closer range that I would have liked, and goes to show the power of the SVD in taking people down. I also waited way too long with the last guy. I like SMB in the SVD because it means that you kill anyone with 2 thorax hits no matter what they're wearing, although 7M1 is another good ammo choice also. This is not a good position for me, but that's a lot better. Kind of out in the open this side. This is not the best flank. Bazinga. Pretty sure it was just 2. Oh. Oh? I can see him just like... waiting for his friends to tell him where you are. I know. The power of the squad, eh? Because I do want to loot these guys, clearly. Thing is, like, his position down there is kind of awkward because we can chill up here for as long as we like, right? Whereas he's got a player scav exit next to him, which makes it kind of awkward for him. I can't see this guy at all. Oh my god. I am a lucky son of a bitch. Slightly further up, spawns on the east often end up being a race to the resort, and you can catch people here as they move across. I personally hate moving up this direction to resort as there is little cover and it feels very exposed to me. Whoa. Make sure there's not a third. The west side can be a bit of a spawn fight, so be really careful if you're down in the south corner, as you can have players on both sides of you. Make sure that you are checking the routes to resort and see if you can cut someone off as they make their way in. From the spawns in the middle, you can sometimes see people running into resort from the northern spawns. And if you're up there to start with, you could do the same back down using the high ground to watch for people who are coming up to resort from the other points. These are just a few ideas, but what I would advise is taking a good look at the map, the player spawns on here, and draw some lines between those spawns and the hot areas. The beginning of the game is in some ways the easiest, because as time goes on, your knowledge of the potential positions of other players loses focus, whereas at the start there are some predictable paths that people are more likely to take than others. Use these potential paths to set up ambushes as other players move across the map in your favourite areas that you know the best to give yourself the greatest potential advantage, and half the battle is thinking as a hunter of players rather than just trying to avoid people or defend yourself when you get attacked. For me, this was a huge turning point in my playstyle and helped me to greatly break some of the gear fear and to understand how to play the game actively rather than solely focused on survival in every raid. So hopefully now you have a few ideas for how to get started with this quest. Just before we go, I wanted to let you know that I've started a new weekly podcast with a fellow content creator, Church, which is going out once a week where we talk about all things Tarkov, updates and more, and you can find a link to that in the description below. As always, if you want to support the channel itself, please do consider dropping a like and a sub if you found my content useful, as it helps to promote my videos to others who are yet to find me on the YouTube platform. And finally, you can also follow me on Twitter and Twitch to catch me when I'm live. Until then, I'll see you next time, and as always, have fun in your raids.